This is an open letter to the Sane Society. I just watched a very excruciating interview between Mr. Douglas Murray and Mr. Tom Candy. I'm sorry, did I say candy? I meant cotton. Between Mr. Douglas Murray and Mr. Tom Cotton. I'm sorry, I remember these names by word association, so that's why, Cotton Candy, Tom Candy, or Tom Cotton. Sometimes I mix, so sorry. So I was listening, and this interview between Douglas Murray and Tom Cotton was, you would think that supposedly journalists, would be interviewing the supposedly politician. Salute to Mr. Tom Cotton. So, and this interview, you think that the supposed journalist has to ask questions of the supposed politician, but they turned the interview around, and so the supposed politician was asking questions of the supposed journalist. What kind of upside down shit is that? Sort of like, oh, you journalists, please show us the way. And although you're a journalist, but because you got a British accent, you may be able to sell it. Oh, fuck. So this get together was brought to you by Republican Jewish Coalition, which what these guys mean is actually Republican Zionist Coalition. And what that means is Republicans for colonialism. Anyway, so you can tell it was pretty excruciating because almost none of what came out of Mr. Douglas Murray's introduction to America, almost nothing that came out was normal. Almost nothing that came out of his mouth was normal, or I shouldn't use the word normal. It's like he was talking the exact opposite of what is true. So he let's put it this way: Mr. Douglas Murray is a kind of guy that looks at you and with a straight face and says, "This is my perception of Douglas Murray." Is the kind of person that sits in front of you and with a straight face tells you that, yes, you should be thankful of us for colonialism, for coming and colonizing you and ruling you for an extended period of time, because you got a railroad out of it, which which you build by our order, in order so we can carry your resources to our neck of the woods. And whatever remains of that railroad that we didn't destroy when we left, much like the French destroyed a lot of their mining equipment before they have recently left Africa. Before recently leaving Africa, the French have decided to, okay, you want us out, we're going to destroy all the mining equipment that we have, so to leave you with nothing. So, as I say, the British and the French are the two sides of the same fucking coin. So he's from that crowd that says everybody in the world should be thankful not for their Independence Day, but thankful for our period of rule over them. That's that kind of guy. So it was very excruciatingly painful listening to him go on and on, string together some nonsense concepts some concepts that are absolutely wrong, absolutely. Every 5 minutes I had to, 5 minutes, every couple of minutes I had to stop it, you know, go take a piss, come back, just to cool down to hearing this much hogwash, as Mr. Biden put it. Okay, here's what I heard. First thing he mentioned, let's go. Countries are not important if you don't know who their defense minister is. That was the gist of one of the first things that came out of Mr. Douglas Murray's mouth, was that in important countries, you know them by knowing who their defense minister is. If a lot of people know who the defense minister is, then that country is important. Really? Are we still at that on Earth in 21st century? That, who's got the biggest dick? You want to know who has the biggest dick? If you don't know their name, that means they don't have a big dick. That's coming out of a British man's mouth. Okay. So, right off the bat, he's sucking up to the Americans, as well as leading them, pulling them on the leash that, oh, you're so important, come this way, you're so important, you're so goddamn awesome. I know who your defense minister, I know your defense minister by name, and you're so goddamn awesome, and we are all in the same boat, which came to, we are all in the same boat, part of the, this is the gist of what he said next. When America is doing well, all democracies are doing well. No, actually, when America, for the past 100 years, when America has been doing well, all rich white people were doing well. All rich white people, not even poor white people. You see, the problem with colonialism, as the same Douglas Murray can explain to everybody, at the same time that at the height of British colonialism around the planet, the British people were suffering. They were very poor, and that's why so many of them volunteered to be part of the colonial British army. Which the French called them something else, expeditionary forces, the French expeditionary forces. Whatever you call it, the colonial army was manned with people who couldn't make a living any other way in Britain. Because why they couldn't make a living any other way? Because colonialism is bad for the economy at home as well. If you win, those people in the business of war make a lot of money. But the rest of the society in a colonialist state such as France and England, the rest of the society is living in poverty. At the same time that the French had all started colonizing overseas, the French people were living in poverty. Same with the fucking British. Colonialism has no good side. Those who have to deal with the sharp end of the spear are not in a good position, suffering, and those who had to deal with the back end of the spear, they're suffering too, from poverty, if not from bombs, but from poverty, because colonialism is expensive, especially overseas colonialism. When you take over a piece of land that is directly connected to you, you're expanding order. But when you are overseas, you're expanding money and disturbing order. Because it's not your land, you don't care to disturb it or not. Overseas, you bring disorder. They have their own order. But no, as per Mr. Douglas Murray, they didn't have order. We, the white people from Europe, had to bring them order through colonialism. Our people suffered and they suffered, but we had to do it because it was the right thing to do. Colonialism. to Mr. Douglas Murray. So, when America is doing well, rich white people do well, and where are these, especially in general, rich white people, not even poor white people, do well? As I said, they become cannon fodder for the empire. The rich white people do well, and where are they concentrated at? Washington, New York, London, and specifically in general, Washington, New York, London. There are some Jamaicans in New York too, but they are not the beneficiaries of, of any colonial activities overseas. But, rich white people in Washington, New York, and London, and Paris benefit from any colonial activity that the NATO does, or Israel does. Rich white people, especially those rich white people who are specifically in the city of London. Mr. Douglas Murray, try explaining to the American viewers that what is City of London? Is it like a Vatican for the people in finance? Sort of like they got their own, you in England have your own Vatican, free of all, even British rule. They have their own rules, and they have their own sovereignty. In a corner of City of London, there is a Vatican for financiers. Try explaining that to people who want to know a little more about colonialism, and how the rules don't apply to us, or the rules don't apply to those members of our society which have too many zeros in their bank account. You don't need to explain that to the Jeffrey Epstein crowd. You need to explain that to the common folks. They call them citizens here. You call them subjects over there, they call them citizens here. When America is doing well, here's how I look at it. America is like a motorcycle, and this motorcycle is one of those old motorcycles with a sidecar. And all the Europeans have bunched up into the sidecar. They call it NATO. And Uncle Sam's managers are riding this bike, and the sidecar is filled with Europeans. And the only difference between Trump and Harris is that it's a colonial bike with a sidecar. White people colonial contraption. A bicycle riding down the sideway with a sidecar. The only thing Harris is asking the Europeans is just stay in the sidecar and cover us politically so we can call ourselves a coalition. And all you have to do is sending the medics. We don't care. You don't need. This is what Harris is saying. Is like, we do colonialism, you catch a free ride just on our sidecar and just cover us politically so we can call ourselves a coalition. Of course, recently Uncle Sam's managers had to find a coalition have found themselves in a coalition with Nauru and Palau. Two islands in the Pacific with a combined population of a village. You see, as the thing becomes, as the situation becomes more ridiculous, the coalition shrinks. Now the coalition has shrunk to Uncle Sam, Israel, Palau, and Nauru. Oh, the British are always there, most of the time. If it's colonialism, the British are all in. It just depends on, depends on how much money they got. If the British, as soon as they find money, the British go back to colonialism. Here's the thing. I understand in 2012, 14, 15, 16, around there sometime, the British paid their last payment for the money they borrowed for World War II. As soon as they finished that last payment, because apparently the British had borrowed a lot of money, and they just finished paying from Uncle Sam's managers, and they just finished paying it off in 2000 something, in 21st century, from back in 1945. As soon as the British got some money, they started building aircraft carriers. The British now have 2 aircraft carriers, and if you read between the lines, you see that as soon as they finished paying off for the last war, they started preparing for the next war. This is the fucking British for you. As soon as they get a few gold bars together, they start spending it to arm themselves to go conquer. Oh, sorry, did I say go conquer? I meant bring order. Bring civility, bring Christianity, bring capitalism, and recently bring democracy. Bring something to the natives. That fucking natives. We have to bring something. We have to, you know, if we want to rape the natives, we have to approach them with a bouquet of flowers, even though those flowers are illusional, delusional. Flowers of democracy, capitalism, civility, and Christianity. Those are flowers that you're pretending you're carrying for the natives. Meanwhile, you're just planning to rape the fucking people. Then he went on, Mr. Douglas Murray, to say they're chanting for jihad everywhere in New York City. Everywhere. No, he didn't say New York City. He said everywhere. I don't understand that why these people are chanting for jihad everywhere. No, I never heard the chant of jihad. At least in you know in my everyday interactions. Apparently, those people who are chanting for jihad are actually directing those chants at you, and that's probably because you're very much for the Israel, which is conducting a very colonialist act over there in West Asia. Here's the thing. You want to call it jihad, you want to call it the natives fighting back, you want to call it they want to have independence, you want to call it anti-colonialist activity, you want to call it whatever. Over there in the Middle East, yeah, they call anti-colonialist activity today, in this day, they call it something like jihad or something like that. But in general, it's anti-colonial activity. They don't want to be settled by European. Here is the thing. Israel is in a way like Hong Kong. Surprise, surprise. Its whole coming together is along the same lines. There was a war, and this piece of land, the British decided to keep this piece of land at the end of the war as a thank you very much, I got the bigger penis kind of a gift to oneself, as one gives to oneself for having a big penis. So they extracted Hong Kong from the Chinese, and they extracted Israel from the Ottoman Empire with one twist, and that is in order to make the shit really stink in West Asia, they gave the piece of land that they extracted, not they gave it, they kind of convinced Jewish people from Europe, the Ashkenazi, they convinced the Ashkenazi folk that this is a good piece of real estate, go take it over. And any other ideas about no, the British didn't want to, no, it was a whole fucking thing, it's already in the history books. So it was a British idea. I'm not sure why the chosen people have bought this British used car. I don't know how else to put it. This is a really crappy deal that the British has given to you. First of all, Ashkenazi folks moving from Europe to West Asia in Palestine to the Holy Land, it's like just because they're Jewish, we have the right to go back to the Holy Land. It's like Malaysians who are Muslim claiming they have any rights to Saudi Arabian land right next to Mecca because they consider the Holy Land, so apparently they have a right to it. They should have a right to it, to go and own it, not even buy it, take it over for free. That's the idea behind Israel. And it's just not sane. And you want to know how insane it is? These fucking British. The Orthodox Jewish garb is a black robe, looking much like a black overcoat, with a black hat, with a very big black hat. A different kind, but still, they're all black and they're all big. And an black overcoat, and beard, all beard. Traditionally, this is the traditional look of an Ashkenazi Orthodox Christian. What does this garb, does it look like it comes from Northern Hemisphere? Yes, it does. You know why? Because it belongs to people from Northern Hemisphere. You see, the Saudis, they're natives. You see what they wear? Not an black overcoat, but a very white, thin piece of cloth they wrap around them just to, stay cool in the fucking heat of the Mediterranean. Arabian Peninsula. Mediterranean cannot be much cooler than the fucking Saudi Arabia. It's that area. Egypt, Israel, Lebanon, Syria, it's all fucking more or less desert. Half desert at least. It's not cool. It's not meant for a goddamn overcoat and a hat, black overcoat and a black hat. Something that you would accept people in New York wear, people in Bucharest wear, people in, Munich wear, people in Moscow wear. Black overcoat, big black hat, keep all the beard, so to keep warm. This is not the kind of natural native clothing that the people around Mediterranean wear. How hard is that? How the fuck did the British sell these people, convince these people that, yeah, you should, with this garb, you actually belong next to the Mediterranean in the heat? Fucking British. And they sold this idea, and the Ashkenazi bought it. Then he comes down, so the whole idea is nutty. These people belong to Europe. All their last names are European. Their complexion is European. They're white, they're pink skinned. When Mr. Netanyahu stands next to Mr. Bill Murray, and they stand both next to Mr. Biden, and all three of them stand next to Mr. Trump, I don't see any difference in their complexion. And I'm not blind. The complexion is all pink. These folks are from the stock in Northern Hemisphere. And just converting to a religion doesn't give you automatic right to any piece of land. It just doesn't. Madonna has become Jewish. Years ago, Madonna converted to Judaism. So you're telling me Madonna, with European ancestry, has some rights now that she has converted? She can actually claim somebody's home in Palestine because she converted. Well, that's an easy sell. I thought of converting to Judaism many times. I mean, if it means getting some free real estate, you convince me. I love free real estate. Who doesn't? But they probably don't want to accept me because I'm not even European. I'm brown like the natives over there. So yeah, you may convert, but no, we don't want you. Only white Jewish people. This is clearly a colonial project. In reality, anybody from Northern Hemisphere can say they have converted to Judaism and go right in and find themselves a career and a piece of land in Israel, all supported by 3, 5, $10 billion a year that goes that way. 100 billion. Who cares? Who knows? It's a colonial project that many white people swore by it, stand by it, because apparently colonial projects are good. You see, then the Mr. Murray says, why the global left is in is in hotbed of anti-Semitism. It's not anti-Semitism, it's anti-colonialism. Global left has always been anti-colonialist. This is a colonial project. It's Hong Kong in West Asia. Israel is Hong Kong in West Asia. Except Hong Kong was somewhat making at least some money for the British government. Israel has been losing money from day one because, colonialism is an expensive project. Very expensive project. It's been losing money for those who started it, the British, and then handed over to the Uncle Sam's managers. Uncle Sam's managers have been spending money on Israel from day one, and it never stopped, because it's not going to stop until all the Asians are dead, until all the brown people in that area of the world are dead. The Israel project is not done, because it's a colonial concept. Colonial concepts ends, like in North America, colonial concepts ended when all the natives were eliminated. That's about 110 million. Why they're comparing Israel to the settlers in North America? Because it's exactly the same thing. Europeans going, claiming land, and eliminating the natives. I don't know. Do they look similar, sound similar, walk similar, talk similar? They're probably similar. But one happened in 17th century, 16th century, 15th century, 14th century. The other one is happening in 21st century. No lesson learned. We are colonialists, no matter what century we're living in. Then Mr. Douglas Murray continues. He starts talking about anti-Semitism and what is anti-Semitism. Here is a white guy from England trying to explain to you what is anti-Semitism and be defender of Semites, at the same time killing Semites. Here's the thing, folks. Semite, it's not a religion. It's a ethnicity. If you're a Semite, there is 90% chance you're brown, because when you type Semite on the internet, it draws you a picture on the map that basically covers Arabian Peninsula, more or less. So what is Arabian Peninsula? What do we associate Arabian Peninsula with? A lot of sunshine. What do we associate a lot of sunshine with? Darker complexions. I don't care about religion. If you say anti-Semite, I'm expecting the guy on the receiving end of this anti-Semitism concept be a brown man. If the guy who's been attacked is a brown man and you say this is an anti-Semitic behavior, I accept. At least at the surface. That brown man may be African, maybe Asian, still it remains to be seen, but at least the color has to be brown. You can't be from England with a pink skin and tell me that anybody who who doesn't like you is anti-Semitic. It's sort of like, no, you're not a Semite. You may be Jewish, you may be Christian, you may be a shaman, but you're not a Semite. Ethnically, you're not a Semite if you're white. 10% of the population are Semite, but they natively speak Arabic. Do you even speak Arabic? Because the Arabic is the language of the Arabian Peninsula, is Arabic. If you speak Arabic at least, and maybe you're a little lighter, we might consider you as Semite. Arabic in language in 21st century, a Semite has to either be brown. 90% of population of Semites are brown and speak Arabic. A few may be a little lighter colored, but they still natively speak Arabic. You can't tell me people from northern hemisphere who converted to Judaism, and if somebody, objects in any way towards them and what they're doing, then that person must be anti-Semitic. It's like one has nothing to do with the other. It's like, you know, what are you talking about? It's like Rachel Dolezal, that the woman who painted herself and got tanned and passed as a black woman for a long time to get a cushy job. It's like she suddenly starting to say, yeah, if you offend black people, you're offending me because I'm black. I'm like, no, you're not. You're white. What are you talking about? And on the other hand, if you criticize people of Ashkenazi origin, you're somehow anti-Semitic. No, these folks are not from that area that we traditionally know as the land of the Semites. That's the Arabian Peninsula. And Mr. Douglas Murray just flies over that. No. I am the wise one. Mr. Tom Cotton, a senator, is not answering question. He's asking the question, and the journalist from England is enlightening us with his wise words, because the words are wise because he says them with British accent. White guy trying to tell that if brown people attack other white guy, that's anti-Semitism. But then when the brown people say, hey, we are the Semites, they say, no, you're not. We are the Semites. Are you black as well, Mr. Douglas Murray? Apparently you consider yourself also a Semite. Do you consider yourself also black? Do you consider yourself yellow skin, brown skin, Mr. Douglas Murray? You're none of those. Neither is, the white people who have moved into Israel from northern hemisphere. They're also not Semite. They're not brown. They're not Arabs. They're not natives. They're colonists, like you. I mean, how silly is that? That if you can convert to Judaism and move to Israel, they give you a piece of land or a claim to a piece of land. It's sort of like, I love it. Who doesn't? And in fact, if you're a secular Jew, they prefer it. And when you're a secular Jew, you say you're secular, you just converted yesterday to Judaism, and today you say, yeah, I converted, but I'm secular. Do you mind? Like Madonna. And nobody can mind. So yesterday I'm Christian, today I'm Jewish, and tomorrow I'm a Jewish man with a land in Palestine, with a piece of land in Palestine. Yesterday I'm a white Baptist, today I'm a Jewish Semite, and tomorrow I'm a landowner in Palestine. I'm telling you, I mean, Madonna converted. I don't know how much land they gave her in Palestine, but she knew she converted and she can claim some. That much I know. Conversion should not give you the right to get free land anywhere. Yeah, I'm gonna convert to whatever religion the Cherokee have and go ask the Cherokee for a piece of land just because I'm converted. And there are a lot of people I noticed there was stories going around that a lot of people in Arizona were claiming some kind of, native connection, native heritage, in order to get on the deal with casinos and get some money from the casinos that the natives were allowed to erect. So it's much more difficult proving you have native blood than converting to a new religion, isn't it? Salute to the late Elizabeth Warren with her native blood. That's the problem. You can convert to a religion. I suggest Miss Elizabeth Warren should, convert to one of the native religions. Because at least that can pass muster. There's no test for that. Then Mr. Douglas Murray dragged on about Oppression Olympics. It seems like it's Oppression Olympics. Well, yes, if you have colonized and enslaved over 100 countries, territories on this planet, after they win their independence, all those over 100 territories, after they win their independence from you, of course, they're not going to join the Commonwealth. They're going to, participate in Oppression Olympics, oppression from the French and the British. Of course, if you hadn't, tried to subjugate all those other territories, there wouldn't be so many members in Oppression Olympics. Everybody has an independent day, and everybody is, has a story to tell about the fucking British and the fucking French and the fucking Spanish. Then Mr. Douglas Murray continues that they only recognize these people these entities who participate in Oppression Olympics only recognize Europe as a colonial powers, and we were more than that. We had Renaissance. And they should recognize for our Renaissance, not as colonial power. Well, if you had stopped doing colonialism, maybe nobody would, be hashing out history again, but you never stopped colonialism. As I said, you got into the sidecar, Uncle Sam's managers got into the driving seat of the motorcycle of colonialism, and you continued down the road of colonialism with, Vietnam still going on, Korea. It's like you got a group on the south that are on your side, and, they take your money and they're your partners in South Korea, and, that's colonialism. That's a foreign army in the native land. When the foreign army pulls out, the natives somehow find a singular leader. But that hasn't happened. The Koreans cannot find a singular leader or form any kind of coalition to live as one people, because South Korea is being occupied by the pinkskins from the cross ocean in a colonialist task. Same thing was Vietnam. Same thing as Japan. Japan has been a colony for the pinkskins for the past 75 years. So is Filipino, and so is Saudi Arabia, and so is Israel, and this is all colonial projects by the pinkskins. And you continue this, but then you say why people keep associating us with this shit? Because you're continuing this shit. When you stop, maybe people forget. You can't continue doing colonialism and say, why these people keep telling us about that we are colonialists? Here's the thing, sir, about the Renaissance. Renaissance is what was your revival, renewal in Europe. Pink skin, European renewal, revival happened during Renaissance. Many other tribes, nationalities, territories have had their own renaissance throughout their history. The thing about, culture and identities, it has ups and downs. Sometimes you go through renaissance and sometimes you go overboard after renaissance and you have, drag races become your main show, pun intended. All kinds of drag races becomes the main itinerary on the menu. That's, a bit farther down the road from Renaissance. And then the cycle turns and you go towards darkness and, what, the dark ages in Europe was. The religion, and you start restricting everything. On one side you go on to drag races and this and that and the other, and suddenly the page turns and then you allow nothing. I went to a fucking one of these cycles in the shithole that I was born in on your planet. That, it was, the miniskirts and the cabarets and all kinds of, worldly pleasures, and suddenly shit hit the fan and the cycle turned and everybody went back to religion, and suddenly, every other person turned out to be a bad guy, enemy of God. It's what happens on your planet, between your species. You go overboard, you overshoot every time. It's difficult for you to remain sane. Renaissance, it wasn't an achievement. You just stopped this decided to stop being silly, ignorant. But here's the problem with Europeans and people of European origins. They call it the discovery of Americas. It's sort of like, unless we know about it, it hasn't been discovered. It's not happening. It's the idea of, if the tree falls in the forest, if I didn't hear it, the tree hasn't fallen. Oh, fuck you. Who are you? You went through a renaissance. You went through a renewal. You went back to sanity, but it was at different points in the cultures and of different parts of the planet. There were other cultures and other territories were at different points in their evolution and cultural evolution and devolution. There was nothing really special about Renaissance, just like there is nothing fucking special about your fucking Shakespeare. Was a poet and playwright amongst many poets and many playwrights in at least 100,000 human history on your planet. Revival, Renaissance. Oh, we are so good. We are special. And again, they're not Jews, they're Zionists. You have Jewish and then you have Zionists. As I said, a Christian can be a Zionist by just converting. A Christian, you can be a Baptist yesterday, convert to Judaism today, and tomorrow you can go claim some land in Palestine. Apparently that's possible. Apparently many are doing it. Are you kidding me? Isn't that somehow like what you did in North America? You say, you convert to this fringe Christian sect, and then the king will allow you to exit England, living as a subject in England. The king will allow you to exit that and go settle in America because you convert and have some claim in America to some natives land just because you converted to that fringe Christian sect. And everybody's happy. The king of England is happy because although you converted to a fringe Christian sect, but at least you're white. So it's a good idea to have you moving over to another continent. That's the whole British spiel. We just export human. We don't want any humans. We export humans. We don't want our own subjects. Our own humans, we don't want them. We want to export them as much as possible to claim more land for our race. Mr. Douglas Murray, with all his wisdom, continues that why they criticize America is the same reason they criticize Israel, because wrongly they accuse both sides of genocide. No, it's not wrongly. We already know there is historical evidence that before the Europeans came, North America had 100 million Redskins living in it. The Europeans came and the Redskins went extinct. Most of them, 90%, 99% went extinct. I would call that a genocide. How it was conducted, I don't know. They were living before the Europeans arrived. Then they stopped living after. You want to call it genocide? I don't know. In my planet, we use a different word. In this planet, apparently we use the word genocide. If you eliminate all the native population, so the imported population can flourish, then that would be considered as a genocide. If you eliminate try to eliminate all the souls of that ethnicity or religion. It's not a belief, it's the numbers. If you can't kill so many of them, then yeah, it qualifies. If you kill 5 people, you're not committed genocide. But if you kill 50,000 people, which is Israel is on the way to doing so, just recently, since the beginning, Israel has killed at least probably 500,000 Palestinians in total. This is the last encounter. They killed 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300. Pretty soon reaches 500,000, 500,000. I think from the beginning, since 1947, Israelis have killed at least 500,000 natives of Asia. Europeans, Ashkenazi Europeans from Europe have come with the agreement of the Anglo-Americans. These guys have come, landed in Asia, and have killed 500,000 Asians during 75 years. You think those numbers are good? And do you think it's a belief? There's no belief here, like Mr. Tyson, not the boxer but the scientist. Like Mr. Tyson says, science is not a belief. It's numbers and it's concept that are, can be proven. It's not a belief system. You want to believe science, you don't want to believe it, nobody cares. It's not a belief. It's facts and numbers. The genocide, if you kill over a certain number of people, you're trying to eliminate the whole fucking race, then that qualifies as genocide. And there is no other way for Israel to continue than to commit genocide, because they're taking over the natives' land. If you don't want the natives to try to take their land back, you have to kill all of them. So you can say that the land didn't have any owners. The only way to stop the bloodshed is if Israel kills all the natives, all the Arabs, in all the land it claims, if the Israel kills all the Arabs that are on the land that they claim, then Israel can declare that, then everybody can forget and say, oh, okay, nobody's claiming the land anymore. Basically what happened to North America. Then Mr. Murray continues. Left loved Israel until Israel was winning. And this is Mr. Douglas Murray said somebody else made this quote to him. Some other genius came up with this quote that Mr. Murray remembered. Left loved Israel until Israel was winning in 1967 and 1973 specifically. No, left loved Israel if until Israel declared independence. What is winning to you, Mr. Douglas Murray, a pink skin from England? What is winning? A pink skin from a pink skin from an island. Winning means if I can win some territory, some land from the mainland, from a guy who lives in an island where most of the land is owned by the king and his cronies and his lords, his lordish friends, for a subject of a king from such a shitty island that common people usually don't own their land, have not traditionally owned any land on that fucking island. For him, in his mind, in Mr. Douglas Murray's mind, winning is to go to the mainland from the island, go to the mainland and acquire some land for, it would be even better if you can acquire some land for free. So what did Israel do? Acquire land for free. So in Mr. Douglas Murray's eye is that Israel was winning when they applied force and started winning. What is winning? Getting land by force and then ruling over it, that is winning. They have won 75 years of war, and they will continue having war until either Israelis move back to Europe, Ashkenazi move back to Europe, and wear their black overcoats and black hats in Europe, which is, more appropriate for the climate. Or you eliminate all the brown Arabs who live in the Arabian Peninsula in order to take over the whole Arabian Peninsula by white people from Europe. As I said, white people from Europe and North America can convert to Judaism overnight, and tomorrow morning they can catch a flight to Israel and claim some land. And they can claim that they're Jewish, but they're secular Jewish, so they converted, but they don't practice it. Are you fucking kidding me? And you don't think we see this, that as a colonial project for white people? Yeah, left loved Israel until Israel. Here's when left separated itself from Israel. Is the point? The idea was Jewish people go over there and live on the land along with the Palestinians, form a unity government, participate in governance, and live side by side, like normal people. This was the part the left was okay with. The moment these Europeans who landed, who asked to live on the land, as be accepted as citizens of the land and live on the land, the moment they decided that no, they want to rule the land, rule the natives, rule the land, is the moment the left couldn't understand what's going on. Because the left is about coexistence. Israel is not about coexistence. Israel is about, this is our land. Whoever is native on it, please hit the road or we're gonna shoot you. That's the point. The left, the global left, became a little bewildered that this may not have been the project they thought it was. They thought it's a project of coexistence, but then Israel decided to push the natives off the land and rule the land by itself. A group of Europeans going, just like Hong Kong, a group of Europeans running the show in a piece of Asia, running the show, as in, like, the governor of Hong Kong is the president of Israel, same job. You're a functionary of the empire. The orders come from London, Washington, New York, period. Orders come from there, ammunition comes from there, arms comes from there, money comes from there. It's a colonial project, very expensive colonial project. Yeah, the more Israel started winning, as you say, that is applying force in order to, not coexist but rule. That's the moment Israel lost the left, because they don't want to coexist with the natives. They want to rule the native land and the native people, a few native people, as long as the native people don't overwhelm the European numbers. As long as the native numbers don't overwhelm the European numbers, the Europeans are okay to use the natives as doormats. But the natives cannot be in the majority, so we push them out. If it looks like a colonial project, if it looks like a colonial project, if it talks like a colonial project, it's South Africa, it's Hong Kong, it's a colonial project. No, Netanyahu is not a problem. The problem is Israel. The problem is not in a sense that you guys start go talking your ass off that no, Israel, these fucking natives want to wipe Israel from the map. No, the natives, what do you mean by wiping Israel off the map? No. If you mean by literally wiping the name and writing a different name on it, maybe. But there is no wiping of the Jewish people. Who wants to wipe out Jewish people? That would be crazy. That's insane. No, and even the natives over there don't want to wipe Jewish people. You know why? Because they took hostages. They didn't kill anybody they found. They took hostages. Because they also don't want to kill Israelis. When when you take hostages, that means, you don't want to kill them. Does that ring any bell? Nobody wants to wipe anybody, out of existence. They just want to stop the rule of the minority Europeans who have moved to the corner of Asia, and they decided that they want to rule the bitch. No, there's no wiping. Yeah, if you mean on the map you wipe Israel and then you write under it Palestine, yes. But if you mean by some kind of a Holocaust, no. Just live peacefully. They should live. The world, the planet expects these Europeans and North Americans who moved to Israel to coexist peacefully in that land. Now, whatever you want to call it. But it peacefully means secular state. That means live next to the natives, not on top of the natives. Any questions? Don't claim to rule the natives. Don't want to rule the natives. Participate in the governance. No. The language has to be this language, and the institutions has to be these institutions, and we have to call it a Knesset. Why do you have to call it a Knesset? What is this? Suddenly everybody, all the Western countries are secular. Suddenly, you know, there is one country that has to be religious. Arabs, they don't call it the Knesset, they call it Majlis, I think. So, or something similar. They have it in their own word. Why is this European identity suddenly in the corner of Asia is important to you? Because you're a colonist, and that's a colonial project. In fact, you wanted to be distinctly different as a British hierarchy, as a British system. You want Israel to be very different from its neighbors, because that's how you can create tension in that neighborhood, and that's how the Anglo-Saxons get to rule the neighborhood, by creating tension there. So Douglas Murray continues that wow, they killed 6 hostages in cold blood without even mentioning the 40,000 natives who have been killed. These numbers are exactly the kind of numbers that in North America was implemented. It's sort of like, if you kill one European, we're going to kill 400 native redskins. That's how, again, if it walks like a colony and talks like a colony and acts like a colony, it's a colony. It's a colonial project. That's Zionism. That's Ashkenazi folks, what Ashkenazi folks are doing in West Asia. That's Zionism. That's colonialism. Zionism is colonialism. You're just given a different name. Again, that Mr. Douglas Murray continued how he tried to paint the natives, the Asian natives of the land, as evil. And I'm going to, put the link of this conversation between Mr. Tom Cotton. Did I say Tom Candy? I meant Tom Cotton. Between Mr. Tom Cotton and Douglas Murray, I'm going to leave the link in the comment section of this video. You judge for yourself. You tell me that what he's saying is just doesn't ring colonialism the whole time to you. Painting the natives as evil. And what do you do with evil? You kill evil. Did they tell you they were evil? They wanted their land back. They killed so many of them. You didn't say anything. They attacked back, and suddenly they're evil? No, they're not evil. They're being colonized. And as far as European pigskin is concerned, people who are the target of colonialism should not fight back. Should just bend over and take it up the ass. Or else we're gonna rape you, and that's even worse. We are here to colonize you. Bend over and take it up the ass, or we are going to do it by force. Mr. Douglas Murray, with all his genius, continued that America does not understand. This was the gist of it. Americans don't understand because America is not being attacked by Canada. No, because Americans haven't tried to steal land from Canada. When they do try to steal the land from Canada, not me, not anybody, I know I have to pay taxes to somebody, so I really don't care who I'm paying taxes to. But, some people have some loyalties that they might not to be, they would want to prefer to be ruled by one side rather than the other, but, potato. But again, The Canadians are not on the receiving end of raids and bombings and well, fuck. Are you kidding me? You're comparing how the Israelis are treating the West Asians, the Arabs in West Asia. You're comparing that to how Americans are not being treated by Canadians. Look, and this is it. This Mr. Douglas Murray is supposedly given a job by New York Post, I believe, and you're thinking to yourself, this guy is stringing together a bunch of nonsense, all advertisement and all propaganda, colonialist propaganda. He's stringing together a bunch of nonsensical colonialist propaganda, and one of the best known, you know, news outlets has given him a job. Like, oh, wow. Then he continued that try to encourage some, say that these leftists and these people don't have any empathy, and those attendees to the rave were this and that, sort of like, well, they were attacked in October 7th, and he's trying to gather sympathy for a colonialist. And you're thinking to yourself, yes, they were attending music festival, but you do understand that they're Europeans who have grabbed land from Asians, pushed the Asians off their land, off their farms, and now they're conducting a musical get together on a farm that was stolen from the natives. So the natives found an opportunity and they attacked. It's sort of like saying Woodstock, if the Indians weren't all eliminated and some Indian tribe had attacked Woodstock and, killed a bunch of people in Woodstock. If that happened, any sane person would say, oh, yeah, it's understandable. The natives have attacked a bunch of people who were having a good time on the land that the natives were the original owners. So the natives could not found it was an opportunistic attack to claim some of their land back, or to push back against the colonialists. So, or at least put up some kind of a resistance towards the colonialists. I mean, if the French invaded England and took over England, if any of the English people resist the French invasion, would you consider that as what was your word for it? Evil? No, the French are used to speaking. The English are used to speaking English. French take over. They don't want to speak French. Just like today, they tell us that, oh, you should be happy that we won, because if not, you would be speaking German. First of all, I don't mind speaking German. I had to learn English, I would have learned German. So I could care less. But you do understand that there was a chance that the Germans, the whole thing about World War II is that the British didn't want to speak German. Didn't want the Germans to invade England. So they continued fighting and fighting and bringing the Uncle Sam's managers into the fight as well. And then the thing that you done through years, year in, year out, 100 years, the 100-year war and the 200-year war and the 500-year war, you're telling the natives in Palestine that why are they trying to fight against the invaders from Europe? while you yourself, all throughout history, have been trying to, create a national identity and fight anybody who wants to, you know, who doesn't share that national identity from coming in. Even if they're coming in peacefully on refugee boats, if they don't follow the national identity of the British, or don't share the genetic identity of the British feel invaded and they want to spill their blood, even if they're coming in peace as refugees. But people who are violently being invaded in another land, violently being invaded, not peacefully being invaded like refugees, but violently. Again, when the left the Zionist idea is when the Zionists turned from refugees to colonialists. That was the point. If you really want to know, Mr. Douglas Murray, the point that Israel concept went from shelter for refugees for the purpose of coexistence with the Arabs, when it went from that project to the colonialist project of we want to rule this piece of land and keep the Arabs down on behalf of the Anglo-Saxons. That's when the left Zionism, because they realized it was a shill. The whole refugee business was a shill. From the beginning, the British wanted Israel as a colonialist entity to rule over the Arabs, to keep the Arabs on their back, or to keep the Arabs on their knees, whichever position you prefer, Mr. Douglas Murray. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that somebody with these colonialist ideas, are given such a large platform, and you know, and the Uncle Sam's managers don't realize that colonialism always brings poverty for the natives of both sides. Both the target of colonialism and people back home at the heart of the colonialist power, they're both living in poverty. Except now that, you know, Uncle Sam is doing most of the heavy lifting for these colonialist projects, and Europeans are taking all the, having all the fun, ripping all the some of the benefits. Europeans are ripping some of the benefits of colonialism without paying too much into it. And that's the only thing that, Trump doesn't see eye to eye with the Europeans. He's not against colonial ideas. Mr. Trump famously has a village named after him in Israel. So Mr. Trump is not so much against colonialist ideas. It's just that he doesn't want the Europeans in the sidecars. He wants the Europeans out pushing the colonialist project. Paying into it, spending on defense, offense, whatever, spending in NATO. And that's the thing. There's both two political parties, and they're both in favor of colonialism. It's just one prefers other partners in the colonialist endeavor to pay up as well. Colonialism.